It's a pretty progressive hospital. We found that they're on a patient care.
Hi, I'm Chris Jenkins, and we're here at Bisbee Studios today, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the Slate Raven and how it fits into our workflow here. We spent a lot of time over the last 20 years in large post-production companies at the major studios, and one of the focuses today is to talk about what's changed in our workflow and how the tools have affected that. The Slate Raven has offered me an option to do something here at this studio that I would have never been able to do a couple of years ago. So being able to make intelligent decisions about what the equipment is, what our kit looks like, and how to get the best use of all of the huge changes in DSP and technology. The Slate Raven represents probably what's best about all of those in giving me an opportunity to do something here, one that's close to home, and two that allows me to build a studio exactly as I want to have it. So when I decided to build this room, it was mostly for doing music and for doing pre-mixing and pre-production work on movies that I work on. And it was just, it's easy to get things delivered here. And when I put in a big Pro Tools system and a good monitor, then I realized that I could be doing a lot more with it. And as I went looking, after seeing a documentary about an old SSL console, I went back to some of my friends who were in the equipment business and said, maybe we should find an old analog console. And they said, are you out of your friggin' mind? Said, there's really nothing to go back for as far as that goes. And I actually stumbled upon the Raven, and somebody gave me a demo on it, and I was pretty blown away. It was something that came up in post-production about 15 years ago, where people were trying to use what was called the glass console, and it really wasn't achievable then. And basically, people were trying to overlay a work surface over the traditional Pro Tools. And it's pretty much exactly what's happened now, but it's a much more intuitive, much more powerful interface. So basically, for a very reasonable cost here, we were able to put in 192 inputs, be able to manage post-production work, do music work, do singer-songwriters, do all the various types of work that would take you a very, very expensive console and a pretty convoluted workflow. We've been able to do all that in a really reasonable way with quick setups. Going to take this to New York with me for a big music job that we're doing at the end of this month. It's just a great toolkit to be able to have there to add on to one, existing consoles, or two, in the case like Bisbee, to have it be really the heart and soul of the room. It's a great editorial tool. It's a great sound editing and sound design tool. And most of all, it's just a really intuitive work surface. I came out of a traditional Neve and Harrison and euphonics world, and people would think that I would be one of the last people to really grasp the idea of just being able to sit and take a surface like this and work it. And I took on a job. It was actually the precursor to this, which is just a short documentary. And I came up here and I had a deadline of Monday night to have the whole thing delivered. And I started on a Friday evening. I sat down and I just started working dialogue and voiceover. And I picked some music. I just started building the session by looking at it. And after about 2 hours of sitting up here late at night, I just found myself watching picture and working. And that's really the key to consoles in post-production, is this kind of triangle of eye, hand, and ear, where you don't want to have anything get in the way of doing that. And this console can work either as Pro Tools faders, or can be working through the Raven faders, which I choose to do. And I just found myself sitting here intuitively reaching for the right faders, reaching for the right place, working plugins, working all the editorial side of it, and being able to go back and forth between the sound wave editing and the mixer. And I just find that it's a really brilliant interface of the two. When I don't do picture projects, I also throw all my waveforms up on the monitor, and I've got an 80-inch version of all my Pro Tools stuff there. I can throw them back down here, do my editing, do volume graphing, do that kind of work, and just go back and forth between the two. So I've just found that it's a really quick, it's a relatively inexpensive alternative to what's really kept a lot of people from being able to do a really fine quality post-production finish on projects. So one of the things I wanted to address is the non-touch fader, the kind of intuitive touch. I'm a guitar player, so I get what it feels like to have an instrument in your hands that you have to have some tactile response to. And I actually think that your brain and your hand and your eye and your ear works together in a way that sometimes you don't need to have the exact thing that you're used to doing. And with this console, one of the great features was the first couple of sessions I did with it, I was terrible, like the first time on any console. And I found that working in fine faders, or the trim mode as we call it on most consoles, eliminated all the BS of what wasn't working with the surface. And working with a fader that has a throw like that and not being really accurate with it, you might find that there's 20, 25 dB of throw in that. But working in the fine faders mode, doing a lot of dialogue work and doing voiceover and doing little tweaks, which is what I always do, I find that I can set that range to be not 10 or 15 dB, but it can be just a couple of dB, 6 dB between top and bottom. And that really gets in and lets you do the fine work and all the really great trim work that makes the difference between a broad, good mix and a really amazing, fine-tuned, tweaked-out mix. So having all that stuff right here at your fingertips is quite remarkable to me. It doesn't take a lot of engineering, doesn't take a lot of maintenance. My mix tech is actually back on the East Coast, and we just do stuff online if I need some type of help with setups, that kind of stuff. But I want to spend my time mixing. I don't want to spend my time dealing with a lot of nonsense as far as wasting time with technology and trying to break through stuff. And I found that the Raven really allows me to get down and do everything that I need to do. Come in, boot up Pro Tools, get the video loaded up, and go to work on the projects. So it's been a pretty eye-opening experience for me, coming out of a long background of doing traditional analog and digital consoles, to be able to step in and just go to work with these kind of projects. And it's made it really beautiful to be able to start to develop a room like this, and really make a home for myself and for other filmmakers to work in a really comfortable environment and knock down a lot of the barriers to technology that had been there before. So one of the great things about our business is the community of people that we get to work with. It's a all people business, and there's lots of better mixers than myself, and there's lots of better editors. But it's a people business, and it's a community of people that I get to work with. And one of the things that helps us work through a challenging environment like the environment that post and music has gone through in the last couple of years is coming up with some type of solution that keeps people working and allows people the freedom to do what they need to do without the cost of entry and without the heavy capital investment that there is to build a really great studio environment. And one of the things that I hope that technology like this, and like Pro Tools, and like a lot of the stuff that you see here in the room gets to do, is to keep people working and to keep them able to earn a livelihood and be creative and keep the juices flowing as far as an outlet for creativity through technology, and not through putting up these big barriers and eliminating people who wouldn't be able to do it. You know, 5 or 10 years ago, if you'd said to me that, yeah, you'd be able to work with a surface like this is just an all-glass touch surface, and you would have eliminated a lot of the day-to-day routine stuff that everybody feels familiar with when they come to work. I don't know that I would have believed you, but I sat down and went to work with it, and I've been doing it ever since. So I still work on traditional consoles, but at the same time, when I come home, I get to work at Bisbee and work in this situation. I just know that there's a lot of other people out there that can really benefit from this kind of technology. So I'm not a salesman, but I'm a person who really does believe that there is something really, really deep and really intrinsically valuable to a studio. And I think that the brilliance is in what the stuff sounds like. So don't trust me, trust yourself, and see what it sounds like when you do it, because I was completely impressed with it.